Are you tired of constantly patching holes in your team only to watch new ones pop up? We often get caught up in these single point fixes, a new recruiting tactic here, a cool new benefit there. But what if the real secret to sustainable growth isn't about fixing leaks at all? What if it's about building a system that doesn't leak in the first place? Well, today, we're going to dive into exactly that. It's called the High Performance Flywheel, and it's a model for building a workforce that's not just strong, but truly resilient. So let's just start with a question that gets right to the heart of it all. Is your business leaking talent? And because of that, is it also leaking profits? It can feel like you're just pouring all these resources, time, money, energy, into a bucket that's got a giant hole in the bottom. You find and hire these amazing people, and then before you know it, they're walking right back out the door. And look, this isn't just a morale problem. This is a massive financial drain. And just how big of a drain are we talking about? Well, let's put a number on it. 23%. Yeah. According to some pretty solid industry data, companies with high turnover are a staggering 23% less profitable than companies that have strong employee engagement and retention. That is a huge hit to the bottom line, and it all comes back to that leaky talent bucket. And this really brings us to the most crucial point. The issue isn't just one bad hire or a single policy that isn't working. Trying to fix those things in isolation, it's like trying to patch one rusty spoke on a completely broken wheel. It's not going to work. The real problem, the one we have to face, is systemic. It's a fundamental breakdown in the entire system of how we attract, integrate, and empower our people. Okay, so if the problem is the whole system, then the solution has to be systemic too, right? And that brings us to the core idea of this whole explainer, the flywheel. So instead of that leaky bucket, I want you to imagine a massive, heavy flywheel. Now, it takes a ton of effort to get it moving at first, but once it starts spinning, every single push you give it adds to its momentum, creating this powerful, self-reinforcing cycle of talent and growth. All right, so let's get into that first big push of the flywheel, attract. And let me be clear, this is not about frantically posting a job opening the second somebody quits. No, this is about proactively and continuously building a pipeline of amazing talent that actually aligns with your culture and, just as importantly, with your future needs. Now, the engine that drives this attract phase is a concept called full cycle recruiting. Think of it as an end-to-end approach that manages the entire hiring journey. You're not just trying to fill a seat to solve an immediate problem. You're trying to find someone who is a genuine skills and culture fit, setting them up for long-term success right from the very beginning. And this whole process, it breaks down into 6 pretty clear, totally manageable steps. You start with really, and I mean really defining the role. Then you move through sourcing and selection. But what's so critical here is that it doesn't just stop when someone signs the offer letter. See that last step? Onboarding. It's treated as a core part of the recruiting cycle itself, and that's a game changer. A really powerful tool inside the cycle is skills-based hiring. Think about it. When you start focusing on what a candidate can actually do, rather than just their degree or where they went to school, you dramatically widen your talent pool. This approach also helps reduce unconscious bias, it supports greater gender inclusion, and you guessed it, it seriously increases the likelihood of a successful hire. You're basically future-proofing your team by focusing on adaptable skills over just static credentials. So once you've attracted that amazing talent, the next big push on the flywheel is to integrate them effectively. Now, this is where so many companies drop the ball. A new hire's first few months are absolutely critical, and a weak, disorganized onboarding process is one of the main reasons that talent bucket starts leaking in the first place. This quote really says it all. Onboarding is not just about paperwork and setting up a laptop. It is the foundation that an employee's entire experience is built on. And if that foundation is shaky, you're going to see early exits. But if it's strong and supportive, you create loyalty and real engagement from day one. And the data on this is just, wow, 50%. That is how much higher retention rates can be for companies that have a structured, thought-out onboarding program. Just stop and think about that for a second. You could cut your early turnover in half just by being more intentional about how you welcome and integrate your new team members. This slide really lays out the difference between the old way and the new way. The outdated approach, it's just a checklist. It's a one-time event that's over and done with in a week. But the modern approach, it treats onboarding as a journey that can last a whole year, focusing on building real cultural connections and continuous engagement. So it forces you to ask the question, are you just running a checklist or are you actually curating a journey for your people? And that brings us to the final and maybe the most powerful momentum-building phase of the flywheel, empower. Okay, so you've attracted and integrated these fantastic people. Now what? How do you keep them engaged, growing, and committed for the long haul? Well, this is all about creating an environment where people feel valued and can actually see a future for themselves with you. Before we talk about how to empower, let's just get crystal clear on why it is so financially critical. I mean, look at this chart. The cost of turnover is staggering. Losing a mid-level employee can cost you 150% of their annual salary when you factor in recruitment, training, and lost productivity. And for an executive, it can be double their salary. These aren't small numbers, people. They can literally cripple a business. So how do you avoid these insane costs? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple. A massive 93% of employees say they are more likely to stay with a company that invests in their career growth. The message from your team could not be clearer. Invest in us, and we will invest in you. It's that simple. So what does that investment actually look like in practice? Well, this slide basically gives us the roadmap. Empowering your people isn't some big mystery. It's about proven strategies. Things like tailored mentorship programs that connect people with experienced guides. It's about having clearly defined career paths so people can actually see a future. It's about building a continuous learning culture where getting better is just part of the job. It's also having strong communication and feedback loops so everybody feels heard. And maybe most importantly, it's about leaders who create psychological safety, that environment where people feel safe enough to take risks and speak up without fear. That's where the magic happens. Okay, now it's time to put it all together. We've looked at these three distinct phases: attract, integrate, and empower. But the real power, the true magic, comes when you stop seeing them as a straight line and you start seeing them for what they really are, a continuous, self-reinforcing cycle. This right here is the flywheel effect in action. See, when you truly empower your employees, they become your best advocates. They're more productive, they're more engaged. And guess what? They tell their talented friends what an awesome place this is to work. And that makes attracting the next wave of top talent so much easier, which adds more energy right back into the flywheel, making it spin faster and faster and faster. And look, this isn't just some feel-good theory. The hard data shows that a fully functional flywheel creates a highly engaged workforce, and that leads to incredible business results. We're talking 22% higher profitability, 21% greater productivity, and dramatically lower absenteeism. Your internal health translates directly to external success, period. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this fundamental shift in mindset. The money, the time, the effort you spend on great recruiting, on thoughtful onboarding, on real development, those aren't expenses you should be trying to minimize. They are strategic investments in the single most important engine of your company's growth, your people. And that brings us to our final question, the one I want you to really think about. Looking at your own organization right now, which part of your flywheel needs the most attention? Is it how you attract talent, how you integrate them into the team, or is it how you empower them for the long haul? Because getting that first push right, that's the key to building truly unstoppable momentum.